comments on it.
Thanks, Margaret, for having me on.
Let's talk about immigration. We've spoken before. You have this border district. You know a lot of Border Patrol agents personally. They're your constituents. So Friday, Homeland Security funding is going to expire. And there's this standoff in the Senate in particular. Democrats are demanding a number of reforms, and I want to lay them out here. And this is sort of the cost of their vote. Democrats want to require a judicial warrant, not just an administrative one, to enter private property.
Yeah, this is the wild part. And shout out to, she says, can you send money to your Venmo from other accounts? Yeah, you just got to hook your card up to there if you feel comfortable doing that, of course. And do you have to send through Venmo? Well, to get the, to double your support, yeah, it got to be sent through Venmo, but you can definitely, hook your card up and all that good stuff. Gaming does it all the time. So gaming, if you could help Tove out with that, that'd be much appreciated. And also here, Democrats, DHS demands require judicial warrant to enter private property, aka they want their radical judges who are going to tell these guys no every single trip instead of an administrative warrant. They don't like that. Require agents to show ID, wear body cams, and standard uniform. I mean, they're already in standard uniform, but okay. But require agents to show ID. I mean, all right, I guess. Wear body cams. I can agree to that. Prohibit agents from wearing masks. Well, actually, there are a lot of police law enforcement actually do wear masks. So you can't sit there and tell them not to wear masks when they're protecting their identity and their safety because, well, remember, you guys have painted these guys as Gestapo and fascists, and people are doxing them and going after their family members and friends and trying to get them fired. Or think about it like this. Don Lemon and a whole bunch of protesters went to an ICE officer's church. Like, do you understand why they're wearing masks now? They went to the man's church and caused a disruption in there because they found out who he was. We don't need no more of that. You see how crazy these leftists are? And I'm not talking about all you Dems, but you see how unacceptable that is. This is why they got to wear masks, because you found out who one of them were and you went and harassed an entire church over it. I mean, are you serious? Like, you can't tell me there's not a good argument for these masks.
They want federal law enforcement agents to show ID, wear body cameras, standard uniforms, no masks, protect sensitive locations like schools and churches, stop racial profiling, coordinate with local jurisdictions to prosecute crimes. Are you on board with any of these demands? Do you see a deal?
I think we need
hold on now to stop racial profiling part. All right, protect sensitive locations like schools and churches. Look, man, look, undocumented or illegal immigrants go to school and they go to church too. I know it's effed up, but you got to catch them when they're coming out. I mean, it is what it is. Like, oh, you shouldn't be catching them at church. They're illegal. They're illegal, bro. That's like, all right, what? Would you not want us to catch, I don't know, a killer or a pedophile on his way to church? Like, oh, no, we should just leave them alone. They're going to church, guys. Like, how do you sound? And coordinate with local jurisdictions to prosecute potential criminals. I mean, bro, if they was coordinating with local jurisdictions in the first place, we wouldn't be here.
Work through it. There's some things that make sense. There's a lot of things that don't. Just a few days ago.
Racial profiling, well, I mean, come on now. It's kind of a slippery slope with that one, because now anybody who they catch can claim racial profiling. And I'm sorry, but just because most of the illegal immigrants are Hispanic and you're getting caught up because you're Hispanic, it is what it is, bro. I'm sorry. It is kind of racial profiling, but a reasonable suspicion as well. So, I mean, you could cry about that, but man, look, bro, we got to catch them all, bro. We got to catch them all. I know we're treating them like they're Pokemon, but it is what it is. And shout out to my man Jed. He says Dems was just crying about FEMA. Now they want to cut it. Exactly. Like, y'all was just crying about FEMA funding and now how bogus the funding was for that hurricane. And now all of a sudden y'all want to cut it. And we had a snowstorm like what, a week or two ago, and now you guys want to cut funding when people are still dealing with that? Okay. Yeah, y'all care about the people.
This was a bipartisan vote, and all of a sudden now the Democrats are trying to hold the country hostage. I'll tell you what's not going to be in there. Amnesty for illegal aliens. I'll tell you what's not going to be there. Stripping away protections for law enforcement officers that are trying to protect themselves. If rioters get to wear masks, then law enforcement gets to wear masks as well. What can be in there? I think the body cameras make a lot of sense. I was really encouraged to see Secretary Noem and Tom Homan.
I mean, that's a good point. If somebody could film you and be masked, I mean, shoot, yeah. You tell me the press could wear masks, bro. These protesters are wearing masks. They're able to protect their identity, protect their family members, but ICE can't. Like I said, think about how y'all sound right now.
Execute that. I think those are good parts of it. And another thing that works, going back to my district, another thing that works is communication. I think it'd be very, very key if there were communication liaisons in all the communities that ICE has, meaning not changing policy, just sharing communication from the community, let's say the city manager, or let's say city council, community leaders, up to the administration and back down. I saw the Biden administration do this with ranch liaisons when the ranchers were really upset. And once again, that helped. These are a couple things that I think could make it, could be the glue that gets this package going.
If the administration will go along with that coordination with local officials.
Yeah, absolutely. The liaison piece makes a lot of sense to me. I mean, that one, once again, ICE is not going to stop going to these communities. It would be helpful if we had many Tom Homans all throughout the country, basically saying, this is what we're doing, not leaving things to what ifs and letting other people fill that void, but an actual sharing up and down the chain of command.
Let me ask you about the warrants here. The Trump administration has changed how to use warrants in arrests. They permit warrantless arrests as well. This wasn't done even during the first Trump administration. Leader Jeffries was on another network this morning and said, judicial warrants should absolutely be required before ICE agents can storm private property. It should not be controversial, this demand. They just want adherence to Fourth Amendment constitutional protections. As a conservative, shouldn't a judge be consulted?
Of course, I believe in the Fourth Amendment, but what worries me is a judge should not hold up everything. We're seeing judges all over the country go beyond their level of authority. And
and this is what these guys are upset about, guys, because if you don't know what an administrative warrant is, let me tell you. An administrative warrant is a legal document issued by a government agency, for example, like ICE or OSHA, rather than a judge, authorizing officials to conduct inspections, seize property, or make arrests for civil/regulatory violations. Unlike judicial warrants, they typically require lower or no probable cause, and often do not authorize home entry without consent. So this is the problem here. They want it to be left. They wanted to take the administrative warrants or the ability to send out a warrant from ICE and go ahead and give it to the judges who, I mean, last time I checked, we were talking about the same judges that was trying to tell ICE they can't do their job for some reason. We're talking about the same radical judges that are pretty much trying to stop Trump at every turn. Yeah, we're talking about that. So, they want to leave it to the judges because they know that the judges are always going to go in their favor, and they're not going to allow a warrant to go through at all. So basically, they're going to be slowing down ICE, and we won't be able to get these illegals unless they're, really outside. And we know where they're at. And that's why ICE are allowed to do their administrative warrants so they can go in there and get them without having to wait on a judge, which they know is going to say no because Minneapolis is against ICE, or the Minneapolis judges are against ICE.
If a law enforcement officer, let's just say, for example, sees a crime that's being committed or has due cause, then why can't they go in there? These administrative warrants, they aren't new. All of a sudden, the left
There's new interpretation of them, and the ICE director has disclosed that.
Well, they're complaining about the use of them, but if you're an ICE agent and you don't have cooperation from local or local officials, how are you supposed to get that criminal that's in somebody's community? How are you supposed to remove them? That's what worries me. If we allow judges to be the roadblock, it doesn't keep our community safe.
Facts.
So that's a hard line.
Shoot, bro, we got judges out letting criminals off. We got judges giving heinous crimes lower sentences. I mean, I'm sorry, but he got a point. Right now, our judges cannot be trusted. Like, they're over here supporting criminals now. Bro, we had a judge literally try to sneak out an illegal. This is crazy. We're living in crazy times where judges are literally siding with the people that are supposed to be condemning, sentencing, all that good stuff, holding accountable. But instead, we got some of them that's literally helping them embed themselves in the community. And I mean, we even had one that was crazy enough to try to help one escape. It's crazy out here.
you in terms of you would never get on board with requiring that a judicial warrant be required to enter private property?
Administrative warrants work. I want to give law enforcement every tool they need to go out and apprehend these convicted criminals that are loose in our community. To me, that makes a lot of sense. Why you would want to shackle your own law enforcement from keeping our community safe makes no sense to me.
Well, the Fourth Amendment protects all people, regardless of citizenship or national origin, from unreasonable search and seizure. So some of those collateral arrests are warrantless, but that's
So
the policy.
here's the thing, though, guys. Now, let me go ahead and read out the paperwork here. Now, while traditionally not authorizing entry to a home with, now, yes, we're talking about the administrative warrants still. Yeah, these administrative warrants, and when it comes to ICE and home entry, while traditionally not authorizing entry to a home without consent, recent 2025 and 2026 DHS policies indicate and reports suggest that ICE may use administrative warrants for home arrest if a final order of removal exists. So there's like, they just can't do it without a final order of removal. There has to be a final order of removal for these guys to use an administrative warrant to enter your house. And at that point, I mean, really think about it. This is your final, like, we're telling you to leave. You haven't left. So you're pretty much disrespecting a court order at this point, or going against the law. And we at this point, they have an administrative warrant to get you up out of here if you have a final order of removal. That's when they can use an administrative warrant. So once again, yeah, if there's an undocumented immigrant there ordered to be removed, then they can go ahead and get it. Well, I'm gonna be real with you. I know y'all may not like it, but yeah, they can go there and kick in that door. FBI, open up! And take your ass out. Well, you know, out of the country. I'm talking if you're an undocumented immigrant.
Politics of this funding bill. I'll put the policy aside for a second because I want to ask you about the cross-examination you're going to have the opportunity to make this week, because you have the head of ICE, CBP, and another agency come before the Homeland Security Committee. The Republican chair said he has questions about training of immigration agents and their use of force. Are you comfortable with what you saw happen in Minneapolis? I mean, are Republicans going to approach this in a partisan way or hold them to account?
What happened in Minneapolis, nobody in this country should want. We should all strive not to be Minneapolis. We don't want to see local communities not work with federal government, and we don't want to see.
The leaders of the agencies are the ones you're going to be questioning, though.
Of course, and I want to know, hey, what are you doing to work with others within the community, so that way it's not just the ICE going it alone. It shouldn't be that way, and this is what we're seeing. Secretary Noem has been very clear on trying to build these relationships out, and Tom Homan is delivering on this by going in there. 80 counties are now all of a sudden working with ICE, allowing us in their jails.
That was a choice by the administration to start working with locals. That was a change.
They've been trying to do this. The problem is you've got so many local municipalities that don't want to work together. And when that happens, your city burns. We don't want Los Angeles. I
mean, that's the problem in Minneapolis. Like Mayor Jacob Fry, which is the mayor of Minneapolis, has not brought in Minneapolis police. They say, oh, because our numbers are low. And then they haven't even asked for, well, local help. I mean, there's other cities out there that may not need all their officers that they could send out to Minneapolis to provide crowd control. This is something that Jacob Fry or Governor Tim Walz could have done. Tim Walz could have just said, F it, man. We just going to bring in the National Guard and provide that crowd control. And Renee Good and Max Preddy, if that was done, would still be here today. I guarantee you. But because that wasn't done and the rhetoric that they're using, these two decide to put themselves in danger. God rest their souls.
Didn't want Minneapolis. People can protest. People can be able to say, hey, we won't agree with certain policy, but there needs to be more collaboration at the local, state, and federal level.
Well, we're going to have to take a break here, but I have more questions for you on the other side of it. So if you would stay with us, we'll be right back with more Face the Nation. Welcome back to Face the Nation. We return now to our conversation with Republican Congressman Tony Gonzalez of Texas. On the Homeland Security front, we see in our CBS polling that the credibility of the president's deportation policy is in question. You can see it right there. A lot of the American public just doesn't support the methods used for mass deportation, even though they like the idea of mass deportation. In the past, you've questioned whether the administration was really focusing on the worst of the worst. You said, don't deport abuelita. Do you think that they are actually hearing the concern that people like you have raised? And do you think there's any improvement?
Very early on, I mentioned, hey, if we go down this route as a party, we're not going to be successful. And we're seeing some of that with some of these special elections that are happening. I am encouraged. I've seen the administration highlight more on convicted criminal aliens. I'm seeing Secretary Noem
in their
and come home
messaging or in their arrests?
In their arrests and in their focus of going into the jails. If you go into a jail and you go cell by cell, that makes a lot more sense to American people than going house by house, going, are you American a citizen or not? And it's safer. It's safer for the agents as well. So I think if we go down that route, we as a Republican Party will be successful. The other part of it too is to talk about legal immigration. The president has mentioned this many times. Last week, there was 65,000 work visas that
Nah, shout out Jet. You're right. Like, gotta update the soundboard to add it's ICE, open up, bro. Somebody got to do that, bro. If somebody does that, you're a legend. You would be a legend, bro. Somebody does the ICE open up sound effect, just like the FBI open up. You'd be a legend right now.
He signed off on, where he goes, you're not invited to this country if you come in illegally, but if you're here legal, we encourage you to come, do it the right way.
Well, I want to talk about that again in a moment, but just to pick up on what you mentioned in your home state, you saw this stunning win by Democrat Taylor Ramett in what had been a reliably red district. And in fact, one of 20.
Look, man, look. Now with this Taylor Ramett, look, the only reason this man won is because they split the vote between the Republicans. They had two Republican candidates on the same ballot. So if they didn't do that, there'd have been like, what, 62,000 votes for the Republican candidate, and they'd have won. And it'd have been as simple as that. But because these Republicans got too cocky, because this district has been red the whole time, they lost to a Democrat. Because guess what? When all the Democrats came out to vote, they only had one person to vote for. When Republicans came out to vote, they had two people to vote for on the same ballot for the same Senate seat. And because of that stupid decisions, the Republican lost. Now, of course, they'll get it back in November because, in November, he'll have to run for election again. So he got to be a senator and campaign all up until November, where he's going to have to run for his seat again. And most likely he will lose to the Republican. Why? Because all the Republicans are going to come out and they're going to vote for their candidate instead of having to split their vote. And if Republicans are smart, they'll make sure just to run one person this time. Please and thank you.
6 state house seats that have flipped from Republican to Democrat nationally since President Trump took office. This wasn't a one-off, in other words. And in the Texas press, there's a lot of focus on the Latino voters as having really swung back or swung to the Democratic Party. Why? What's happening?
People are anxious.
Is it the deportation policy?
It's some of what's being portrayed, and one of the things I think is very effective for the administration is for them to highlight the people that they're deporting, put them on the website, show them, and go, these are the folks that we're coming after. I would argue the Hispanic vote is what gave us, the Republicans, the House, the Senate, and the White House. And if we want to keep that long term, we do have to make a shift, not necessarily in policy, but in communication. I mentioned this earlier, a communication liaison of someone saying, hey, this is what we're doing, working with others, so it's not just a surprise. Prime example, San Antonio. We have a new ICE facility built in San Antonio. A lot of people are anxious. They don't know what's happening. This is $125 million that's coming to the community, have 1,200 jobs, and after it gets established, there'll be another $125 million with 325 good paying jobs for our local community.
But respectfully, in the past, you have said this isn't just a PR problem.
Oh, God, do me a favor and double tap that screen and like the video, guys. Let's get more people on the conversation. Bye. Double tapping that screen. Appreciate the support, everybody. Let's keep it going.
You actually looked at the numbers and found that it was not the worst of the worst in those detention facilities.
Right. It's not a PR problem. It has to be.
It is a policy problem.
It has to be a policy. And what I'm seeing is they are going after the worst of the worst. They're talking about we're going after the worst of the worst. The part I think we can improve on is communicating with the local municipalities, those that don't have an idea, and be able to go, no, that you have a seat at the table. We want you to have a seat at the table, even if it's different, even if it's a different conversation or a different ideology. You should have a seat at the table, so that way your citizens know what's happening in your community.
So Trump was not the first president of the United States to detain children.
Sure.
You have this facility, though, in your district, Dilley,
like
and that is for family detentions. That's where little 5-year-old Liam Ramos from Minnesota was held before a judge. That's the picture of him there. Ordered him released. He was ordered released, because his family has a pending asylum claim, a legal process. He had entered with U.S. government permission through a process that the Biden administration had deemed legal. The current administration does not, the CBP-1 app. Liam's father gave an interview to Telemundo.
So yeah, you kind of see the whole the CBP-1 app, where I'm be real with you, we didn't, when you put in your asylum claim in there, we don't verify it. Basically, you just sign on an app, say, oh, I'm going through this problem, no verification on that problem whatsoever, but we're letting you in the country now. That's the problem. And Trump, well, he revoked that status. And I believe that was under the temporary protective service, and he revoked all of that. So yeah, now he would be considered an undocumented immigrant who has an asylum case in.
And you read the transcript, he's talking about this 5-year-old, he's not okay. He's waking up at night crying. He's worried he's going to be taken again.
I mean, way to sell it. But here's the thing, though. Let's be real. His father, undocumented immigrant at this point, regardless of his asylum case. ICE pulled him over and they tried to give him back to the mother. The mother didn't want to, and it seems like both the kids' parents might be illegal at this point, because the mother didn't want to take him because she was afraid that ICE was going to take her. So they had to take the child into child protective services. That's what they had to do. And the judge was able to get that kid out and also the father out because of this pending asylum case. Because like I said, remember, he just signed up on the app, put in a case, and this has never been corroborated. So this is why his case is still pending. We're still seeing if his asylum case is valid, which we'll see.
It's psychological trauma, according to the father.
But we'd never know.
And the administration's still trying to deport him. Do you understand why they are so focused on this 5-year-old and his dad if they did come in through the front door with U.S. government permission?
Well, the front door was via an app that Biden knew exactly what he was doing. And he created this huge mess that now President Trump is there to clean up. And
but he came in the front door. He wasn't sneaking across the border.
Through an app that wasn't vetted. And
yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's the problem with the app. It wasn't, their stories were never vetted. They just literally said, hey, yo, I'm going through this in my country. Let me get into America. And we was like, okay, like, wait, so we're not going to corroborate the story or anything? We're not going to actually make sure that he's running from a real problem. He's not running because, of hard economic times in his country, because that's not a real case there for asylum seeking. You're running in there, but you're running from your country because you're in fear of your life. This is what he put down. We never went to check out that story. We just said, all right, well, thank you for giving us a very sweet story. I dropped a tear. So come on now, you can go ahead and get on it. So yeah, so all you got to do is write a tear-jerking story on an app, and apparently you can get into the United States. Like, are you serious? Like, come on now. Is that really acceptable?
The bottom line is that they're not going to qualify for asylum. So what do you do with all the people that go through the process and do not qualify for asylum? You deport them. I understand the 5-year-old, and it breaks my heart. I have a 5-year-old at home. I also think, what about that 5-year-old U.S. citizen?
You feel comfortable defending that?
I feel comfortable. We have to have a nation of laws. If we don't have a nation of laws,
they were following the law.
I'd also say this.
That's the rub. It's that a new administration deemed the last administration's regulation not to be legal.
We can be compassionate, and we can also enforce our laws. And I think that's the secret sauce that the administration and Congress must do. Let's enforce our laws, but let's do it in a humane way. The facility in Dilley, I've visited there many times. I've visited dozens of different facilities. It is a nice facility. It's a detention facility for people that are in the country illegally that are about to be deported, but it is a nice facility, nicer than some elementary schools here in San Antonio.
Advocates have said otherwise, but quickly before I let you go, a number of Republican lawmakers have objected to the video that the president and his staff posted to his social media account, the one of President Obama and the former First Lady. Do you think he needs to apologize for it?
It's up to the president. There's no room in this country for racism, anti-Semitism, socialism. All the isms need to go. But what
I think it was that.
At the end, I mean, I think it was very upsetting to a lot of people. What the part of no one's talking about that video is about election integrity. And so the bulk of it was on election integrity. Yes. Which is a very important topic. What I suspect is going to happen is the White House is going to, in the coming days, issue a memo on their policy for this upcoming election. And I suspect Director of National Intelligence.
Every time they mention this video, I'm going to play the video at this point. Every time they mention it, I'm going to play it. Because I mean, since y'all want to make this a hot topic and a lot of people really ain't seen the full video, I got you.